Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I've got for you tonight is going to send you into your weekend right. It is a little bit of truth, events, and news, and so much parody and comedy. Because, no joke, the Biden administration has announced that VP Kamala Harris will be a leading voice in the gun violence prevention efforts to re-elect Biden. You cannot make this up. It was released today. Everything is linked in the description box below, and I cannot wait to hear the comments on this one. And please spread this out because they're seriously doing this. Now, here's the actual title that I'm going for. Because I always bring receipts. Here's what was announced today. Vice President Kamala Harris to be a leading voice on gun violence heading into the 2024 cycle. Translation, she's now the gun violence prevention czar that they can't make official, going into the election campaign for Biden in 2024. I can't imagine what will go wrong. But Kamala Harris, some of her greatest hits include the border conversation with Lester Holt. If you haven't seen it yet, you're about to be pleased.
There's one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, but let me just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance.
Oh, it's so bad. Okay. That is who is in charge of the border. The problem is clearly solved. There has been no issues. Everything has been resolved on the utmost passions. Has it? Is it? No, it's not. But don't worry, guys, because our lives over the next 15 to 16 months are about to be peak entertaining. Now, extremely concerning. Don't worry. Wait till I show you some of the things that she said. But at the very base level, this is going to be very funny. There's going to be a lot of hyena moments, I feel. But anyway, let's keep going because I've got to show you what they're up to. As the paragon of virtue, Vice President Harris leads the way on gun violence prevention for the Biden re-election campaign in 2024. Washington. The Biden-Harris campaign plans to make addressing gun violence a key focus of President Biden's re-election efforts, and Vice President Kamala Harris will be a leading voice on the issue, according to Democratic sources. Senior Democratic sources, I'll have you know. What could go wrong? For us? Typical infringement talk. For them? Oh man, we're going to get so many great clips to talk about together. But let's continue. On Friday, Harris will mark National Gun Violence Awareness Day with a speech at a high school in Springfield, Virginia, named after John Lewis, the late Democratic congressman and civil rights icon. That was today, by the way. Harris's remarks will highlight the president's commitment to ending gun violence and underscore the fear and trauma students, teachers, and parents experience as a result of gun violence, according to a White House official. Hey, what do you bet, just between you and I, it's Friday night, we can be honest with each other, what do you bet that it's probably not going to be a lot of conversations about recidivism. It's not a lot of conversations about actually locking criminals up who are performing criminal acts. What do you bet that it's probably going to be a little bit more infringement versus a little bit more enforcement? What over under? Can I get an over under in the comments field? Let's keep going because there's even more goodness. For example, this quote. Most people understand it's a false choice to suggest that we choose between either upholding the Second Amendment or passing reasonable gun safety laws, she will add. Now, this is one of the things that we really have to set up camp on because the left does this thing, particularly with Biden, Harris, all the top Democratic aides, top Democratic senators, they all do this. We're just chasing reasonable gun safety, and if you don't agree, then you're not reasonable. What's reasonable gun safety? Don't worry about that. The details aren't important. We're looking for reasonable partners in this epidemic of gun violence. They can't tell you what they mean because reasonable is a subjective term. For example, anyone watching this video might have a different subjective view of what reasonable is than Kamala Harris. The border wonder. But that's the important piece. They don't got to tell you specifics. They just got to tell you something that feels good, which is why people buy it. But anyway, let's continue because after all, they're not going to infringe upon the Second Amendment. Oh, yes, they are. They just put safety and a reasonable gun safety over it. That's the point. They are putting reasonable interpretation over rights. They have openly said multiple times that they want to ban ARs, ban large capacity magazines, install red flag laws nationally, universal background checks, and semi-automatics are evil and there's no reason for them. Reasonable gun safety after all, guys. You don't want to not be reasonable, do you? Let's continue. The vice president's emphasis on gun violence reflects public sentiment around the issue. Americans now say gun violence is their top public health concern, according to a May poll by Axios and Ipsos. The vice president has also tasked her team to look at other potential actions on gun violence outside of an executive order. Sources familiar with the matter said, ooh, she tasked her team. What leadership, what paragon of virtue. Wonder how many times she tasked her team to do anything at the border. Anyway, the other thing here that I really want to touch on, things that they can do outside of executive orders. Okay, so they've lost the judiciary. They've lost the legislative. They don't have that option. Outside of executive orders, what are you planning to do? Because you're a political government. Those are pretty much the three branches of ours. Where are you going after that, boo? Because I look forward to meeting you on the field of battle for it, because I have a funny feeling it might be unconstitutional. But let me continue. I got one more thing, and this is where it all wraps up, because it kind of falls apart. Congress is unlikely to act further heading into an election year. Of course, that always happens. Recent CBS News polling shows Americans are still sharply divided over gun policy, with most feeling that neither party is particularly effective at preventing violence. Probably because it's not a gun issue. It is releasing criminals back into the system, not charging them, and then having the exact same people perpetrate crimes over and over and over again, a small portion affecting a mass population. Yep. That's about what's up. And that's what I've got for you guys. I hope this brought a smile to your face, a little tear to your eye, but overall, hope you ended up well. I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great Friday night.